Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the K12 Sports Tech 80 Think Tank on the Educational 80 podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Think Tank guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, including K12 Sports Tech. Now, remember, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies, and I highly recommend that you check them out. So listen to our shout outs right now. It takes about 3 minutes. Then listen to our think tank guest and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank K12 Sports Tech for sponsoring these think tank segments. K12 Sports Tech helps athletic directors and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting services. Athletic directors are also encouraged to join the K12 Sports Tech 80 Think Tank and help influence how athletic companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To get started, just go to K12sportstech.com. That's K12sportstech.com. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase the great things your department's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, coaches, how about parents, how about sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school sports software program for a number of states, thousands of ADs, and even if your state has a different platform, you can be a home campus school. Their platform is tremendous. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility option alone is a game changer. You got to see it to believe it. Go to homecampus.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, those days are over. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school, tremendous success, and so will you. The website is snapraise.com. They've got a ton of other great apps, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant AD did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they earn their master's, get this, they also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to thank our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. There's lots of different models for every school, every price range. Check out Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider. But how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The list just goes on. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, even a principal, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. For more information, just go to hometown.com. It's hometown.com. We also want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys. You know, at my school, we use surveys for everything, kids, coaches, parents, even our teachers. And the information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. We would still hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but it gave us a chance to address their concerns and keep them from turning into something big. But going back to that positive data, it was incredibly valuable to have that information, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or sometimes your principal, or how about even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. It's athleticsurveys.com. And we want to say thanks to Huddle. I used Huddle as a football coach for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. So did our athletes, even our parents. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We're joined today, as always, by Alec Brown. He's the COO of K12 Sports Tech. Alec, good morning or good afternoon for you.
Yeah, hey Jake, thanks for having me.
And our think tank member today is truly a friend of the podcast, a friend of the show, and I think probably a friend of K12 Sports Tech. Longtime listeners of the podcast will certainly recognize the name Nate Larsen. Nate is a certified master athletic administrator, very active at the state and the national level. Also, he was a recipient of a NIAAA Distinguished Service Award this past year, one of the NIAAA's highest honors. And he's the athletic director at O'Neill High School, and that's in Nebraska. So, Nate, welcome to the think tank.
Glad to be back, Jake.
Okay. Um, if you're new, listeners, if you're new to this, the AD Think Tank and K12 Sports Tech is just a tremendous resource for not just athletic directors, but also for sport vendors. Um, Alec, let's go and start with you today. Give the listeners a little bit of your athletic background. And listeners, Alec was an AD, so he speaks the language. Tell us a little bit about K12 and how the think tank works. And then, Nate, we want to hear about your experience.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Thanks again for having me. Yeah, my background is in education. I was an AD for about 8 years in Chicago. Before that, I was a teacher and quickly moved into administration. I was a baseball coach, became the AD, just because, it wasn't really a thing that was happening at the school that I was working with. So I decided to take it on and didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but it led me to this kind of career in education-based athletics, which has been amazing. Um, so that was in Chicago for about 10 years. And now, at K12, what we do is we're a consulting and resource hub that connects athletic directors to school sports tech vendors. And we do that with a group that we call our AD Think Tank, which is what Nate's a part of, and right now about 560 other ADs across the country. And it's an opportunity for ADs to be compensated for their input on tech platforms and how they solve problems for school sports programs. The ADs in our group absolutely love it because they get to be a key voice in sports tech. They get to have input into these tools and actually sort of follow the journey as these tech tools make improvements to their platforms based on what our ADs have said about them. And they get compensated for their time, which is nice to have as well.
Yeah, again, when I first heard about the platform, I was just blown away because it's just such a cool and almost a Captain Obvious idea that nobody had ever done before. Hey, let's try to connect athletic directors, which, as you know, I'm a huge fan of networking. But hey, let's also connect them directly to the sport vendors that they're buying equipment from. Sometimes, every week, definitely every year. Um, Nate, share with our listeners a little bit about your athletic journey so they can get an idea of who you are. And then I'm curious, how did you first find out about the think tank?
Yeah. I coached high school football for my last 3 years at the University of Nebraska. Kind of got an in with the football program that I was a part of in high school, the school that my dad had been a teacher and a coach at for a lot of years. And that was a phenomenal experience. It was a great time to be a Lincoln Southeast Knight at that point, with some outstanding, really high level athletes to work with, which is, as you know, makes coaches look really smart. So I got my start there, and then after that, I spent 14 years as a social studies teacher, coaching mostly football and girls basketball. But there were times I filled in, helping out with some golf or track here and there as the opportunity presented itself. And then I've just finished my 11th year as an AD, my second at O'Neill High School. And in my time as an AD, for one reason or another, as whether it's illness or things like that, for coaches along the way, I've had to adapt and be able to help coach a little wrestling here and there too, which for a guy that grew up in a basketball household was quite an adventure. But it's been good for me as an AD because I now understand the wrestling world a whole lot better than I did when I first started. I know that. In terms of the think tank, I got my start probably at the state coordinators meeting, maybe a year ago. When a couple of individuals who have been a part of the think tank came up and said, "Hey, this is something we do. I think you'd be a good addition, to the think tank to be able to, like you said, just kind of add your voice to some of the developments that are going on."
Now, again, I think athletic directors, when they first hear about it, they say, "Oh yeah, connecting with ADs," and then you mentioned vendors, and I think the image that might come up is that cold call or that cold email. Can you explain, I guess, how it works, and then maybe some of the projects, as you mentioned, you get paid for doing the projects, some of the projects that you've been involved with?
Yeah, boy, I don't know. I just finished a survey the other day, but basically, my experience has been once you've completed your onboarding with the think tank, you've filled out your paperwork, you've had the meeting with Alec, then you get updates as far as what projects are available to be a part of. So you get to pick and choose things that are relevant to you. Um, you know, there's been several projects that have come up, and I'm like, that's just not something that's going to apply to me. That vendor probably doesn't want my input because I don't have a lot of experience in that area. Um, and then there's been others that's like, wow, even if it's not something that I'm maybe looking for a change in, whether it be a vendor for clothing or video support or something like that, or digital scoreboards. It's things that I have experience with.
Right.
So, you'll start maybe with a survey. Here's kind of my experience. Here's what we've done. Here's maybe what we're looking for. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing a one-on-one call with the vendor and Alec to kind of go over, you know, these are the new things we're thinking of. What do you think? Would that be useful to you? How could we change it? And there's been some really neat opportunities. I think the first in-depth one I did um, was a digital video technology um, project, and at the end, the guy's like, "Man, I'm going to write these three things down because that's stuff we'd never thought of, and
Right.
we need to be addressing those things."
You know, I know Alec has brought this point up many times, is that the vendors are tremendously appreciative of the feedback that they get from the ADs because, as you mentioned right there, Nate, a lot of times they just don't understand how a school, how a coach, how an AD wants to or is going to use that particular component that they offer. So they are learning about the space. And again, it's consulting. It's not a sales pitch. If you like it, there's opportunities to find out more. But no, they're not pitching you the product. Um, Alec, can you expand a little bit on what Nate shared? Like how many vendors are part of the think tank from the vendor perspective, and what is some of the feedback that they've gotten from or you've gotten from them?
Yeah, for sure. So I think currently we have 10 or 11 vendors that are working directly with the think tank through consulting projects, whether it be, just surveys or the AD engagement, which are the one-on-one calls that we do, or we have like three or four right now that are doing pilot programs. So we actually have ADs in the think tank that are using these tools actively in their schools and giving feedback, which is really cool to see as well. So yeah, so a number of vendors engage with the consulting work with us, and then we of course have the vendor directory where we're affiliated with a lot more vendors, and ADs have the opportunity to do some kind of compare and contrast between different vendors in the same. Overwhelmingly has been, really good. I think the biggest thing that vendors realize is they weren't an expert on the space like they may have thought they were, and they now, I think often vendors realize that schools are sort of a one size fits all, and they adapt really quickly and start to offer different pricing for their platforms, or different tiers for what they offer within their platforms to schools of different sizes, and different program types, which is really nice to see because it makes it accessible for programs of different varieties all over the country.
And I think that's such a great point because we know that there's not just a single size high school. You've got big, you got small, you got urban, rural, public, private, et cetera. And I think we've said this many times that because of the feedback that vendors have gotten from members of the think tank, they've changed price points. They've added additional levels of service. And I love the story how one company actually changed the name of their product after they'd gotten feedback from athletic directors. That's just incredible. Yeah. Um, Nate, as somebody who's been in the business for a while, you certainly understand the value of networking, and that's where I really think that I feel the think tank has a double service of not just connecting you with these vendors, but also connecting you with ADs from across the country that also participate in the vendor directory where they are rating and reviewing these companies. When you see a five-star review on that vendor directory, you don't know the product, but that's an AD giving that five-star review. What kind of impact does that have on you as far as maybe potentially making a decision to go with that product?
Well, I mean, in my mind, that's huge. And it's funny you ask because the survey that I just completed yesterday for the think tank, that was one of the questions was, what's most important to you when making a decision? And AD recommendation or testimonial was right up there because if I know somebody that's walked a mile in my shoes is saying, yeah, this is really good. Especially if it's somebody that I've been fortunate enough to meet at a national conference or state coordinators. If it's somebody that I know and they're saying, absolutely, I love having this, that makes a difference to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the gold standard is that athletic director review. Well, Alec, if we have listeners that they're not currently members of the think tank, and maybe they'd like to find out more, how do they join the think tank? How do they get in touch with you and pick your brain a little bit?
Yeah, so you can always reach out to me directly. It's Alec, ALEC, at K12sportstech.com. Or you can visit the website, K12sportstech.com, go directly to the think tank page and just create an account.
And athletic directors, I'm telling you, this is a great resource. If you're not currently a member, you really need to go to the website, K12sportstech.com, sign up, get involved with the think tank. And Nate, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and connect with you, add you to their network, or find out more about how you run programs at O'Neill High School, what's the best way they can connect with Nate Larsen?
Just Nate Larsen at o'neillschools.org and Larsen spelled with an E. So,
Yeah. And Nate's information is also available through the NIAAA membership portal. Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for sharing on this week's Think Tank. All the best for the rest of the summer, and hopefully you have a great start to the school year.
Thanks, Jake.
Appreciate it, Jake.
Appreciate it.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of these interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We try to do the Think Tank just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So come back and join us again on the next K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Have a great day. Hey, before we go, we want to thank all of our great sponsors, including K12 Sports Tech. As you just heard, if you're not a member of the Think Tank, go to k12sportstech.com, sign up today. Let's go and thank the rest of our sponsors. And just a reminder, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. How about we say thanks to Gipper? Go to gipper.com. Sideline Interactive, that's sidelineinteractive.com. Home Campus, you'll find them at homecampus.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Snap Raise, go to snapraise.com. Huddle, you'll find them at huddle.com. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration, check them out. Hometown, go to hometown.com. And Athletic Surveys, go to athleticsurveys.com. Thank you again for listening to the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We will see you next time.